Got a special episode of Gratcast coming up here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about digital media funds and how they can work for communities all across the country. More importantly, I'm realizing I forgot to update the What's on Tap tonight to have the appropriate header in front of it. Show starts in 2 minutes. Gratcast 155, special Wednesday night edition.
Ooh, and it's an early edition on top of it. A double special.
It is.
Nice.
We adjusted the time for the East Coasters here tonight, and we adjusted the day because Andrea's been working quite a bit, and I was in Vegas over the course of the weekend, meeting up with some friends from Buffalo. I also went to check out the esports arena, which was what we talked about last week, and
What did you think?
I think the doors were closed.
What do you mean the doors were closed?
So it's funny how all of these things are kind of coming full circle and working around together to start connecting, but still the timing's a little early. So I went to Las Vegas. One of my buddies from Buffalo was going to be in Vegas for the weekend, and I went up, crashed on their floor, and took it as an opportunity to wander over to the Luxor to check out the esports arena that esports arena runs in there. We've talked about esports arena in the past as a potential managing partner for what we're trying to build in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see their esports arena.
You wanted to check out the competition.
Yeah, well, not the competition, but what?
It's kind of the competition.
No, because they'd be our partners, and I wanted to see one of the other arenas that they're running and see what it looked like and see the inside of the arena and what their layout is and what worked and what we could do maybe differently and just get inspired by it and take some pictures we could use on social media. Show here on Gratcast, and so Greg and I walk all the way down to the far end of the strip to the Luxor, wander all through the Luxor. And side note, I told you this when we came back, but I'm gonna tell everybody else here. It was hard not to think about what happened there. I mean, almost 2 years to the month in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay, walking around that whole up and down the strip and seeing Vegas Strong everywhere, all these different types of things. And it's not far from your mind. Just imagining that it was your vacation that you were there, and all this craziness happened, and what went down there. And it was weird how it was just always kind of in the background. So the Luxor is really literally in the shadow of the Mandalay Bay, which is why I bring this up. And so we went there, found the esports arena, and they had like 6 little stations in the lobby where you check in to pay there, and then they had 2 big doors closed right there. And I walked in.
Closed due to construction?
Well, closed for now. So I didn't know if they just opened up. Yeah, so I go up to the counter and I'm like, hey, is this the whole thing? Like I didn't, because wasn't even sure like if that was the whole thing or not. So I'm like, it's like I thought there was like arena or a big arena in there, and he's like, oh yeah, it's inside those doors there. I'm like, is there any way I can like go inside and check it out, take a look at it? And he's like, sorry, man. They told me not to let anybody in. We're setting up for an event next week. And there's nothing we could do. Just bad. Yeah. Of course, the weekend I'm there. Bad timing. So long story short, I leave there, bummed out that the one chance I get to be there, they've got to close down and set up for a following week. And follow up yesterday, and I'm talking to Craig, not Greg. Greg was my buddy that I met in Las Vegas. Craig is one of our board members on the ground in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And he tells me he was speaking with somebody that's like the head of the National Esports Association or something along those lines. And they have a big event coming up next weekend at the Esports Arena at the Luxor. But they want to talk about what we're kind of doing in Buffalo. And this person just happened to be from Buffalo's too, heard through the grapevine what we're working on, and wants to have a conversation about it. But it's their event that literally blocked me from being able to see the inside of the arena. Long story short.
It's too bad they didn't know each other a little sooner. You could have gotten the invite to get in. Been on the list to be allowed to go see the construction at least.
Yeah, you might have to let me go back up to Vegas again this weekend. Yeah? Can I go back?
Yeah, if Craig gets a hold of that guy and that guy gets you in for free plus somewhere to stay, you can ride the bus to Vegas.
Hey, I came back with more money than I left with. That's all I'll say about the trip to Vegas. So anyway, this special episode of Gratcast, we're diving into this week's update on the Startengine Campaign page. So last week's update was the esports arena and how we can get that built. This week's update, and I'm looking for, there it is. We got a little Startengine button there. There. Oh, sorry, Andrea.
That's okay.
I'm taking you out on screen.
That's perfectly fine.
So that's the campaign page, the start of it. And
the campaign page.
Yeah. So check that out. See the whole game plan. It's all laid out there in stone, and you can follow along with it and get the whole detailed weekly updates every week when we put them out. Last week was the esports one. This week is going to center around the digital media funds and how those are going to work for the creators and local artists.
Great.
I had a little setup here on this that I got a little lost in the weeds in bringing us in for the setup here. But yeah, so there's a video that came with the whole update that we're going to break down here, and we're going to go over bit by bit. There was, oh man, I had a little punchline set up here through somewhere that's getting lost in the bushes. We're losing some gems here, dear, but we're gonna move on.
I think everyone's okay with that. I think they can handle that.
Yes.
So it's going to be an info.
Yes, this is gonna be a breakdown basis on it.
Yeah.
We're gonna yin and yang here, dear. Okay, so let's just cut to the desktop, as David would say, and let the video play out here for a few seconds. And what it's really gonna break down is the digital media fund, the model of how it can work, and I remembered back to me. Okay, guys, here I am back. All right, we're gonna move on to this background and section, so we don't keep getting the intros. Here was the setup I had for this, dear. Mm-hmm. A lot of companies, a lot of corporations, they would guard their secrets with their lives pretty much, and they hoard information, they patent information, all of these different
They
things.
sell information.
They steal information, they manipulate information, all of this different things. But we talk about transparency here all the time. So the business model we're about to share with you guys right now in the video, see, this is a much better intro and hype here, dear. This video is the nut behind all of Gratwick Productions. It's everything that all we're doing is built upon this breakdown in the simplest sense of the business model. And we're sharing it because, listen, I think everybody should have their own branded content infrastructure here. And ours just so happens to want to help upcoming artists, but people can make it for their own personal brand, for them and their fellow creators, whatever you want to do with it. The point of the matter is, this is the solution to Hollywood's problems right now in the business model and where all of these things are going. And instead of just hoarding it for ourselves and trying to keep it locked away in a closet, and hopefully we're the ones who bring it to the forefront, which hopefully we do for ourselves and for whoever chooses to work with us, we're also sharing the model. So if somebody else can build it, can do it, can create it for themselves, that just makes our case that much stronger. Right there? Are we?
Fantastic.
Okay. So now that we've got the good setup and intro out of the way, let's move on to the video. Now, Andrea, I'm going to ask you to pause here after now the first couple sections. I'll let you know when the first pause comes, and then we'll go section by section after that. Ready to rock and roll?
I am ready when you are, sir.
All right, let's rock and roll, dear. Okay, let's get the first pause in here. Okay, so Regulation CF is basically regulation crowdfunding. This is the change in the Jobs Act that allows people to that allows people to crowdsource investments into startups and new businesses. Now, as you see here, previously you had to be an accredited investor to be able to invest in early stage startup companies, and that means you made at least $250,000 a year. They claim that this was to protect lower income people from
Being taken advantage of.
Being irresponsible with their money, not knowing how much they can afford to invest in things. They're protecting us from ourselves, so to speak. But the early stage investments are the highest return investments that comes with investing in the stock market, investing in companies in all the different stages. That's where your highest returns are at your smallest investments. And traditionally, we've all been iced out of that stuff. But with the changes in the Jobs Act as of May 16th, now any company that's properly formed as an LLC or a C corporation can go ahead and file with the SEC and be able to run a crowdfund equity campaign through one of these third-party platforms that are also regulated by the SEC. And that allows anybody to invest as little as $100 into companies and startups. Now, that's exactly what we've got going on Startengine. That was the image that we popped up over Andrea's face. Sorry. That was framed for when I was doing the show by myself.
Whatever. It's fine. There was a 50-50 chance I would have to be at work tonight. So, that's fine.
So, the equity offerings allow companies to raise funding from everyday Americans that can invest as little as $100 into these companies, and if it does well, if it's successful, you can earn returns, dividends, whatever the companies decide and structure out through that. Mm-hmm. So, based on that idea and that freedom that has been created by creating a new investment medium and vehicle for early stage companies, mm-hmm. we came up with the idea to take it one step further. Okay, pause there for a second. So, the digital media funds, which you can establish and start as many as you want as LLCs under
The parent corporation.
Yep, I've got the.
Oh, he's got.
I've got the image here for it. Uh-oh, we got to go back to the introduction, I believe, for my image. Where's my image? Oh, it's here. There it is. So, if you form these digital media funds underneath the parent corporation, then each one of these digital media funds can run their own crowdfund equity offering. And the parent corporation holds 51% in it to maintain the control and the integrity of the digital media fund and what its purpose is. And the other 49% of the digital media fund can be sold to the community that it's specifically targeted at and set to serve. So, for example, we want to start this plan in Buffalo because we know the most artists there. We've got the most contacts and relationships there. It's my hometown. So that's where we want to prove and demonstrate this model of establishing a community-owned digital media fund that allows Gratwick to be the vehicle for which the community can invest into their local artists. And then from that, continue, as you see by the image, to add more and more digital media funds all across the country. So that each different artistic community and creative community has a media fund where the local talent and the local creators can go to and go through a pipeline to try and get their projects made and supported and
still stay there instead of having to move to New York or LA.
Exactly.
You know, people forget that that's a major problem in, like, middle America is a good way of saying it. Anywhere that's not along the coast, they're talking about how the young people aren't staying. And there's a reason for that. They don't have the support. They don't have the interest or the financial integrity in the system there already. But they do have family members, and there are lots of people who have money, but they just aren't putting it back into the community the way that would help reissue everyone.
Oh, absolutely. There's a front and back to this. And the front is something we've talked about on both Gratcast and on State of Mind, how the entire Hollywood dream and the idea of California has been created from the outset as a lure to attract all of the innocent, beautiful youth of the world to Los Angeles to be monetized, preyed upon,
admired,
put to work, screwed.
Giving free stuff. That's usually a big one most people like. They like the being admired and getting free stuff. But
so that entire illusion has been set to literally suck the talent out of everybody else's communities and have them come here where they need to be to succeed. So if we could support that talent before they ever had to leave their own hometowns, before they have to come to Hollywood and risk being another 1 in a million, or potentially the other 999,999 that gets chewed up, fed out, and spit out the other side, how many more people are going to stay home? How many more people are going to flourish in their hometowns? And how much more opportunities in those communities is that going to create by keeping the creative talent in that area and well supported? So that's the goal behind these digital media funds, is each community has the ability to invest in their local talent, support their local talent, or invest in productions that are going to be shooting in that area and in their region.
Putting money back into the community because they're going to need all the resources there.
Yep. So you create the opportunities in your community, you keep the money in your community, you keep the talent in your community, and the success benefits every member of the community.
And it looks better for the young kids. Like, it looks like you're more willing to accept things and to give them an opportunity to express themselves as opposed to telling them to shut up and stop being, kids.
So the plan for how we're going to roll out these digital media funds after it's established in Buffalo is this first public offering is for the parent corporation, Gratwick Productions, right at the top. So any investment in Gratwick is an investment in the entire business model of all of these different digital media funds. So the way they'll be rolled out after that is the highest percentage of Gratwick A-listers, which is anyone that invests as little as $100 into the company. The highest percentage of where those people are around the country is where our priorities are going to be on establishing digital media funds. So if you're an artist, a creator, an actor, a filmmaker, any of these people, and you invest in the parent company, the Gratwick Production Company, that's the community we're going to look to first. If that's where we have the most support and the most investors in the company, that's where our expansions are going to be, is where the people are that help build this and grow this machine forward.
And when we're crewing up for productions and everything, everyone who already has worked as crew members, they have a whole niche market that they work in as their career. That's who we're going to be looking to also. You're already a professional. We would love to include you every way we can.
All right, let's move a few more frames forward. Kick back to the desktop. Okay, pause that for a second. Okay, so investing in entertainment, digital media products, all of those different things is a high risk, high reward investment. Most people that invest on a large scale, they do so into slates or portfolios of projects. You only need a few of them to hit in the portfolio in order for you to see high returns on any type of investment. So what that translates to for this entire model is each one of these different digital media funds that would be set up now theoretically. So the goal is first to set up one in Buffalo as the prototype and the demonstration, and then set up 10 more around the country, and then grow from there. Now, each one of these different digital media funds becomes a different portfolio of content. Each community is going to be investing in different talent, different genres, different type of art, different types of concepts and entertainment. That really, in order to benefit, at least in these early stages, these are going to be tight, responsible budgets that are shot in local communities. So in order for these projects to turn a profit, they really only have to succeed in their own hometown demographics. That's really what this model is entirely built for, is for people to turn a profit literally only selling to their immediate demographic. If it goes on to be successful beyond that market, then everybody wins exponentially off of that. But now as people that invest in the parent company of Gratwick Productions, you're in on all of the different digital media funds and that'll be established underneath here. All of these different portfolios, all of these different cities, all of these different creative talents and projects that'll be done. The odds and the percentages of somewhere in those different portfolios, there's going to be some very, very big successes. There's going to be some highly profitable content that comes out of it. There's going to be some new stars that are made. All of these different things get increased with each amount of... Each one of these things increases the odds of another successful high return project when there's more and more digital media funds and there's more and more communities and artists being invested in. Mm-hmm. So that's the reaction on our independent side of Gratwick Productions versus the traditional way of investing in slates of feature films. Okay, kicking it back to the desktop. Okay, pause at the end here. Okay, so that's basically just summarizing everything we're just kind of explaining, with the fact that the capital risk on these productions are coming from the digital media funds and the crowdsourced investments into the local artists and talent. The guaranteed revenue from the subsidiaries is the parent corporation provides the marketing and distribution for each of the pieces of content and creative elements that come from all the products that come from these digital media funds will go through the parent corporation's pipeline of marketing and distribution to ensure they enter the market in a well-promoted, orchestrated, and seamless way where there's as little friction, middle people, and third-party revenue sources that have to be filtered through as possible. And with all of the added projects from each different digital media fund, it increases the overall success of the entire umbrella on having successful projects come from it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, pause. All right. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll break each one of them down. Why is it good for the community? Obviously, it keeps and supports local talent in their hometowns. If they've got a source for funding and pursuing their talents without having to leave and chase Hollywood, that is a win-win for both the talent and the community. More productions, more opportunities. There is a wide range of sub-communities and sub-industries that survive off of the entertainment industry. Um, Craft services, labor crews, carpentry crews. Um, name some more here, dear. The equipment rentals. All of these
Costume, makeup, hair,
wardrobe designers.
lunch, crafty, all general supplies for the set.
Pretty much anything that you need on a day-to-day basis in your lives, a production is going to need also at some point or a given
Yes.
time. So when there's more productions in a community, there's more career opportunities, there's more acting opportunities, there's more crew opportunities, but there's also more secondary opportunities for all of the companies and businesses that benefit from productions happening in a nearby radius to their company.
Banks.
Yes, and all of this translates into more money into the local economy. By a community-owned digital media fund is literally investing in the community over and over and over again. We profit off the success of hometown stars. The next big star, come on, the Google Dolls came from Buffalo. Can you imagine if the entire community of Buffalo had invested in the Google Dolls in an early stage when they got their first debut album done, or invested in the Google Dolls to get a music video done? How great of a win would that have been for everybody to say you helped launch the Google Dolls?
Yeah.
But that's the type of like civic pride that can come from a digital media fund like this. Okay, next one. Okay. Why is it good for the local creators? Again, a lot of this stuff we've covered a little bit, but work with the studio system. Having the actual professional structure and support in your hometown that is as good or comparable or farther ahead of the curve as to what you could spend a lifetime chasing in Hollywood is an invaluable open door and opportunity. The system is literally being set up for artists and creators to control their own destiny and have total accountability and transparency over the pipeline that services them.
Which also leads to increasing profit margins. Because you see everything that's happening.
Yep.
You have a say in where the money is actually going. Because sometimes things are being spent that don't need to be spent.
Yep.
All it takes is another person looking at it and giving a better idea.
Efficiency and reduced expenses and commissions that don't need to be paid. All of these things increase profit margins without even having to increase sales. And a lot of these different efficiencies and technologies allow you to also reduce consumer price points while increasing profit margins. Means it's cheaper for your audience and you're still getting a higher profit margin.
Heck yeah.
But the biggest thing that like I as a filmmaker want, and like anyone that like believes they have a chance to be as good as any other filmmaker out there, you need coordinated release schedules. You need your film to be on a calendar so people know when it's coming out while you're still in production, while you're in development on it. Like we all knew years in advance when the Star Wars movies are going to come out, when the next Marvel movies are going to come out, when all of these movies are scheduled and slated years in advance to come out through the studio system. That's a huge advantage on the marketing, on the public awareness, on the anticipation for it. The numbers from opening weekend sales that are created when you can create that much anticipation. All of those things are going to be baked into our marketing and distribution strategies that will bring these opportunities and bring a traditional Hollywood strategy and coordinated release process to the independent local artists that we'll be working with through this business model.
And to top it all off, it won't be skeezy.
Yeah, well, that's the best part of the whole thing. Yeah.
Like, that's the one part that makes everything else worth it, even if you don't make a ton of money off of everything, is you can actually do it without having to worry about it being gross, about people being abused, about people taking advantage of other people's willingness to work on someone's creation. Like, crew members shouldn't be working 16, 18 hours a day. Actors in either way should never be put in a position where they feel like they have to do something that they naturally wouldn't want to do because other people's jobs are at stake. Like, yeah.
Well,
there's so many. The ethical part just.
that to me is really the beauty of all of this, is by making things more efficient and more transparent and getting rid of all the middlemen. There's going to be plenty of money to go around for everybody. Everybody can win. All of the micro investors can win. All of the talent can win. The creators can win. The executives that help run and maintain this can win. Everybody can live a comfortable lifestyle and pursue every creative aspiration that they have. And
we can make our own little paradise.
It's just, I don't know why certain things, when it's already too good to be true, you gotta get greedy and you gotta squeeze harder and you gotta go after it. Like, Hollywood's already like an amazing and a great thing. You tell stories, you get paid all this ridiculous amounts of money to do all this stuff, and then you look what's been done with that power. It's just, I'll give you a simpler example so we can move on here. Online poker. It's literally a program to print money. You just take the rake, print money, print money. But they still have to cheat the algorithm and make the game, the cards all shady and corrupt and create action and tilt the game. Why? You've already got a money tree.
Very true.
Okay. Moving on. All right. Okay, so this one is the top of the food chain. This is the one that is most important right now because this is what we're running the equity campaign for. This is what everything else is going to fall underneath all of this. So anyone that invests in Gratwick now is going to have ownership in the parent company. Through that, you end up with majority ownership in all of the DMFs, the 51%, without the capital risk of the production investments, which will come through each one of the digital media funds' own entity and structure and running of its own equity offerings. So you get a piece of everything without the risk. You can provide the parent company, Gratwick in this scenario, provides the infrastructure for each one of these digital media funds. So every project, investment, creator, anyone that comes through any of these different digital media funds, all is supported and serviced by Gratwick Productions when it comes to the marketing and the distribution, and any kind of financial services are all handled by the corporation. That's the benefit that every digital media fund gets from their partnership. And then through that, this reduces the cost of entry to market. So, perfect example, as an individual filmmaker, the distribution company that distributed The Perfect House, Gravitas Ventures.
Do we still want that in the middle?
We can take it down.
Okay.
Gravitas Ventures distributed and had the video on demand rights for The Perfect House. Now, when we made a contract with them, I put a clause in the contract that said any platforms that they don't release the movie on, the rights automatically revert back to us. So, for whatever reason, Gravitas Ventures, as far as I still know, is one of the distribution companies that doesn't have a standing agreement with a platform like, say, Netflix. So The Perfect House has never ended up on Netflix. And because of that, the Netflix rights have reverted years ago back to us, where if we wanted to, we could sell the film to Netflix and have it on Netflix. But Netflix does not deal with single productions, single films, single projects. It's got to come through a package of content that they make with a distributor or a studio that has a whole library of content, all of these different things.
They like bundles.
Yes. So without the ability to bundle your film or your content with other films and content, you get iced out of licensing deals and stuff from platforms like that. That's where Gratwick can service and provide that bundle that a typical studio has for all of its projects that it co-produced. And then finally, the same as the benefit to the investor, is a diversified portfolio full of potential high ROI. So the parent company has a stake in each one of these digital media funds, and each one of these digital media funds will be making. We'll show the projections here in a little bit. A ton of content.
Making some content, people.
All right, moving on. Okay, pause for a second. Okay, so this is a top version of the graphic that we've had on screen for a bit. So the graphic we've had on screen shows the parent corporation, then it shows the subsidiary, which is actually the finance company right there, number 2, and underneath the finance company is where all of the digital media funds would fall. Mm-hmm. But additionally, underneath the parent corporation, we would have the real estate holding company, which would be the holding company for the Buffalo Esports Arena and movie studio that we're putting in place. The real estate company would also work with the finance company to build each one of the digital media funds over time, based on success, their own facilities and potential esports arenas in each one of those regions, while the marketing agency handles all of the marketing for all of the projects underneath the finance company and digital media funds, and then also handles the marketing of the real estate properties and arenas and studio facilities.
That's a lot of marketing.
That's a lot of marketing business, and that's before we even get to the sales agency that needs marketing for all of the sales that they have built in through all of the different digital media funds.
Wouldn't they already have the marketing from the finance company aspect of it? The digital media fund?
Well, that's
just double marketing.
It is double marketing, and that's the benefit.
That's crazy marketing. Let's just say if you like marketing,
is the marketing is going to cover the digital media fund projects from finance to sales all the way through. That's why it's in between there, set up nice and holistically. Mm-hmm. It carries from finance to the sales, and the marketing gets all of that business. The sales gets all of the sales business of the companies under of the productions. And then the media app is where it all comes together in our own blockchain distribution app that will also have all sorts of augmented reality and virtual reality experiences for each one of these different regions through Twisted Ropes technology and Rebel One Studios animation. But it'll be a blockchain distribution app where our audience, our investors, anyone that consumes our content can get it directly through that app, just like the Disney app. And any creators that have their content sold through that app will have zero commissions on that content, as opposed to the 30% commission that's paid to Amazon, iTunes, and Google, and all of those guys. And now these guys charge you 30% commission. They don't market your content for you. That's what Gratwick's going to do. Nope. And they're going to put your movie, which, as good as your movie may be, you're probably early on not going to have A-list stars and names and box office special effects and all of that in it. But your movie is going to be sitting right next to that movie in a queue, and that's taking a percentage of your sales away every single time, as opposed to if people came directly there for one reason only, and that's to see your stuff. So these are all of the efficient advantages that we've cooked into the Gratwick Productions business model. And for that sake, anyone using this model can create a whole holistic approach that feeds into themselves all of their own business. All right, let's move on. Okay, so this is just explaining that the real estate holding company purchased. So here, I don't know how many people out there have seen the McDonald's documentary. But
Was it a documentary or did it have Michael Keaton in it? And it was a fictional movie that they say based on true story.
okay, it may have been both.
Okie dokie.
I think there was both out there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the McDonald's doesn't make the most of their money from the selling of food, folks. They make it from their real estate holding company that owns all the property that their McDonald's franchises are on.
Must be built on.
Yes. So the McDonald's franchise has to pay rental fees and costs to the holding company that is part of the McDonald's parent corporation. And this is where McDonald's, most of their value and wealth comes from those real estate properties. Because not only do the properties hold value, but they collect income and rent.
Doesn't that sound mean?
It sounds like a good corporate structure.
Watching the movie though, were you happy with him? Did you get a little mad at Michael Keaton's character for doing
Well, that wasn't because of smart business structure. That was because he used it to muscle and strong arm the guy that actually came up with McDonald's and ran the first McDonald's. He used it to grind that guy into dust. But the model itself for a parent corporation to set up and structure underneath itself is absolutely brilliant. So that's the long-term strategy with these digital media funds, is to have each one have its own real estate property and facility that it uses and has local employment, and it creates a secondary level of entertainment from the foot traffic, and the key is the observation decks in these studios where people can come and watch these productions and all of this stuff happen and take place. So in order to have production studios with observation decks on them that are open to the public with experiences and luxuries, we've got to build these things ourselves. And then some of them will include esports arenas. All right.
I feel like I hit the pause button a bit fast.
Okay, so we already explained the finance company. The finance company is where all of the... Okay, so just pause that for a second so we can talk about the numbers. The finance company is where all of the digital media funds will be structured underneath them. And each one will have at least two offerings. The first one will sell 10% of the company for the $1 million cap that can be raised. The second one will sell 10 to 39% of the company based on a $50 million cap. And those are the potential $51 million startup funds for each digital media fund. And ultimately, in later rounds, once this whole corporate infrastructure is in place and each one of these digital media funds have done their raises and the blockchain distribution app is in place, there'll be a utility coin and an ICO-based utility coin offering that follows up behind all of this that services our esports entertainment and our digital media entertainment all together through the same ecosystem. We've gone over the marketing agency. It'll cover each of the different DMFs. It'll cover the sales, the facilities, all of those different things. Okay, yeah, we can pause on the sales agency here for a second. The sales agency will be a boutique based out of Los Angeles, where it can be still within the industry and going to the marketplaces and doing all sorts of foreign sales, traditional sales, all of the things that don't leave money hanging on the tree. While we will have our own direct distribution with frictionless transactions, immediate royalties at the point of sale, and zero commissions, there is still plenty of other consumers and people that are going to only consume through their platforms of comfort. And we're going to still be available there. It's going to be more pricier. It's going to be more costly. But if they want to buy it there, then we're by all means going to be there. We're just going to put our marketing efforts and our traffic efforts into driving people towards our own point of sales funnel. Okay. And then the media. Okay, pause. So the media app is going to be the home base of the entire Gratwick ecosystem. This is where people are going to be able to review projects. They're going to be able to give feedback on projects that are up for potential funding. They're going to be able to watch live auditions. They're going to be able to catch live streams of any productions that are happening. All of this is going to be done through a single app. And this same app is also going to be a distribution front. So each digital media fund will have a white labeled version of the app that's geared towards their market and their region. The primary content at the top of each queue or library will be the local content. And other artists that, even if Gratwick didn't finance or produce the content, other artists will be able to sell their stuff in the storefront as well. Each community will have augmented reality-based experiences throughout their neighborhoods and community to drive traffic to local establishments.
Preferably not during traffic.
Good pun, dear.
Yes, thank you.
The blockchain universal utility coin will be the entire ecosystem in the app, and over time it'll have pay-per-view, digital downloads, subscriptions, and free content that is ad monetized. Literally what Disney and all of these companies are moving towards right now is something that we predicted and are excited to see and have been preparing for the past 10 years. Okay, pause this one. So each digital media fund is going to have a 9-person panel that will qualify productions or projects that have been submitted as ready or not ready. And if 6 of the 9 deem a project ready, it'll move forward in the pipeline. If it's deemed not ready, then the creator will be given notes and explain why it's not ready and invited to resubmit. Each community will have 9 members from their local creative community that there will be some democratic way to decide on these members, people that have established themselves in the community as leaders, mentors, and advisors of the next generation, not people that are threatened or feel challenged by another's success. Is that safe to say, dear?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Then this is the entire pipeline broken down. So once 6 out of 9 of the local digital media funds panels deem it ready, it moves forward. It's then presented to that digital media funds community of investors for a round of feedback, notes, comments. Pretty much any kind of public discourse that can happen around the projects takes place. There'll be surveys to give them ratings and feedback numbers, and the community of investors will also be provided at that time projections and a marketing strategy breakdown, so they have an idea of what each project is expected to make if all goes well. After that, the feedback, projections, and marketing breakdowns will all be given to the board of directors of the specific digital media fund, and they will decide what order each project goes into and is slated for financing.
Besides just the amount of money they'll get back and what we're going to do for marketing, the shareholders get to know like what the content basically is, right? I mean, that's part of it, is the audience gets to choose what's being made. Like, if they don't want to see another comic book movie or something, and that's what we're offering, they should have the right to know there's 4 out of 7 of these are comic book ones.
Well, that's what the feedback round is for. I mean,
It sounded like you were giving more business information for feedback as opposed to deliberate content.
It's giving the investors the information to make their own decision on whether they want to see this go any further. So in order to have that information, you have to see what the projections would be for a project of similar, the comparables. And then you would need a marketing study. Is there a market and an audience for this type of content? So they can see the idea, the possibility and the strategy all together, and then give feedback. Hey, I think this is good. I like it. I give it such and such a rating, and all of that to combine together. So you have to look at, like, if the majority of the investors all think a certain idea is no good, or they're giving it negative and bad notes. That's also a pretty good market sample of the potential audience
Yeah.
for that project. So
Very true, very
there's
true.
no reason to ram something like that through and finance it and fund it if not only the community investors doesn't like it, but your market sample doesn't like it either. That's a strong indictment of any kind of project, and that's a lot of influence early on for
Yeah.
the investors. All right. So a lot of this is just the highlights of these revenue streams. They can be drilled down substantially farther, especially on the active revenue side. So on the passive property value, the esports arena, the studio, all of that would have increasing value as an investment. Property rental, stage rental, equipment rental, all of the different events and concerts and things that could be facilitated at a complex like this. All the subsidiary services, marketing, finance, distribution, all of those services, the utility coin value of the entire ecosystem using and operating off of the same utility coin. The 51% ownership in each one of the digital media funds and all the projects that come through those pipelines. All of that stuff is passive income that will come through the company and come to the parent company just through doing business. Then the active revenue is the financing of the projects. The ads that can be run through this entire transparency and all of the creative processes that people have access to through the productions, all of that stuff can be ad monetized and have revenue streams created through it. The marketing and distribution of all of this content is all revenue generation. Concessions, sponsorships, major tournaments at the esports arena, naming rights for the arena, and then stage and equipment rental as well. All the revenue streams are endless here. So that's just a summary of them. Okay, this is the big one. So, based on an average budget project that gradually escalates from 250,000 up to 5 million or more over a 5 year period, we're looking at from 10 digital media funds over 300 projects, over 300 local artists supported, over 300 different
Projects.
movies, shows, TV series, video games, augmented reality experiences, 300 different types of digital media entertainment created and financed through 10 different digital media funds all over the country. That's a lot of talent that's going to be discovered. That's a lot of people employed. That's a lot of local jobs. That's a lot of opportunities. And that's a whole lot of products to have a chance at having high returns and a lot of success come from them.
That's a lot of people working.
That is a lot of opportunities delivered in 10 different communities that could all use them.
Heck yeah.
And each one of those 300 projects will be donating and giving back to charities voted on by those digital media funds.
Oh yeah. Forgot about that. Giving more back to the community.
Okay. So here's the big numbers. The corporate infrastructure, which is all the different subsidiaries and the companies to get them up and running and operating correctly, you're looking at about a $10 million budget. And then to build the esports arena and the studio with about 200,000 square feet, you're looking at about $40 million. That money is obviously not going to come from $100 investments. That money needs to be structured and come in through different types of investment partnerships. For example, the real estate studio and esports arena, $40 million, the majority of that is going to come from ideally the developers, tax incentives, all sorts of outside investors that are partners in the real estate holding company. Not the parent corporation of Gratwick Productions, but the real estate holding company that owns a stake in that esports arena. The corporate infrastructure of all these different companies underneath. The beauty of it is that can get rolled right into the real estate deal, and the real estate deal serves as a collateral on the investment into the corporation of $10 million. So, as much of this amount as possible will come from later offerings in equity offerings for Gratwick Productions, because the more money that we invest together to cover the budget for the esports arena, the more we're going to own of that property and that real estate. And then whatever the remaining amount is would be made up through developers and tax incentives, gap financing, things of that nature. So the question is, how do we get $50 million? Oh, here's some of the incentives. So I'll break these down real quick. Opportunity zones. This is the huge one that's driving all sorts of development in downtown Buffalo and Niagara Falls right now. The opportunity zones, basically, if it's up to 10-year investment, there is no capital gain tax. So on a $50 million investment, if that goes on to be a huge startup company that the studios are worth billions of dollars, there's no capital gain tax on that, which is a huge chunk of an investment's profit margins that are cut away without an opportunity zone credit. Startup New York is unbelievable. For 10 years, the company and every single one of its employees doesn't have to pay state taxes as long as you work with a college to offer internships, programs, job shadowing, all sorts of stuff like that, which we would do, honestly. Anyway. Yeah, we would completely do that anyway. But yeah, no state taxes for the company or any of its employees. Unbelievable program they've got going on. Renovation credits. There's up to a 20% credit for renovating old buildings and factories and commercial buildings.
There are lots of those in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
Big ones.
There's potential different government capital available for public entertainment facilities, especially things that drive tourism and bring people to Western New York in the winter. New York State still has some great film tax credits that would benefit from the facility and shooting all of that stuff in there. Okay. So this is where this equity offering that's happening right now comes into play. In order to raise that $50 million, in order to establish this corporation as fully operational, in order to launch a digital media fund for Western New York, we need to build all of these business plans, and we need them to have proper legal guidance. We need them to have financial reviews, accounting, budgeting, all of the revenue streams, the pennies coming and going, all of those tax incentives we just broke down, how much money people can count on coming from all of those different things. And we need to start making legal agreements with all the different potential partners for the real estate deal and the esports arena and all of these different things. This is what we're raising money for right now, is to package all of this stuff together and start presenting it to the people that have already told us they're interested in this type of plan. They think it's great for Western New York, and this is city officials, developers, and managing partners of the biggest esports arenas in the world. All of these different people, including colleges in the Western New York area, have all explained to us and reached out to us that they want this to happen. How can they help make it happen? The only way that's going to happen is with investing into the Gratwick Productions Startengine equity offering. You can invest as little as $100. You get a piece of everything we've talked about here today in this entire episode. You get ownership in all of that. And access, influence, an open door submission policy, early notice on all career opportunities. Andrea, anything else we can add here?
Profits.
Well, that's the given.
A say in what you're going to be watching from now on. a decision in the taste making of society and how it should be, as opposed to how it has been with bad people making all the decisions.
Okay, so we're not going to do our bullet blitzes this week.
Are we finishing it out?
Oh, well, yeah, it's just going to close out with how much it costs to put all of that together.
Oh.
So
we don't want to bot.
Hit it.
I'm doing it.
Hit it.
I did. Told me to pause very quickly.
Poof. We expect to build all of that. It costs $100,000 in 12 months. That $100,000 is the amount we're trying to raise through the Startengine campaign. And this is exactly what all of that money would go for. And it would also go towards a second offering, which is starting to raise the money for the Digital Media Fund and the entire studio facility. Uh-oh.
Well, that's interesting.
Andrew's got ads running.
I don't.
All right. So we're going to be back Monday with a regular Gratcast. Continue sharing the campaign updates, everything that we're working on, the entire pursuit to build a audience and artist-owned studio. Andrew wants to talk about
goddamn CGI turning James Dean into an actor in a movie now.
James Dean's got a new movie coming out.
I don't mind that
he's got a big
family
part.
has agreed to it because it's the family are the people who should benefit from it once someone passes away. But then, of course, a company has to jump on board with, we've got the ownership of the following people, actors,
yeah,
like
we're
this.
fired up to start.
It's taking everything I had not to say anything tonight, people. Oh, again, it burns my butt. Burns it hard.
This is, once again, Just Drive coming to life here, where an artist is worth more dead to the handlers than they are alive. They just want their legacy. What's the other topic that we're going to touch on? You had two.
There was, it's a little political, though, but I have to. The reporter who was outed on a video that she had pretty much known about the Epstein thing and had it ready 3 years ago, and her producers and the show got bullied by quite a few different things. And
you see, she's trying to backtrack now.
She's got the whole. I want to show you guys the video. Is my thing. I want to show you the video of when you see her saying all this. She's not lying about it. That's the thing. Is there's
she's angry she didn't get the glory.
It's not even the glory. It's the fact that not everything has been released yet either, and they had so much more. Yeah.
Well, she's already
back. I didn't get to talk about those things because Chris wanted you guys to know about what's going on.
She's already backtracking and trying to.
Well, of course she is, because her bosses are all threatening her as well as everyone else, and she's afraid to go home at night.
So this is a family-friendly episode of Gratcast. So,
I swore, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was very.
So we're not going to close out with our typical song.
Oh. Okay.
We're just going to abruptly end the show.
Oh, that's awkward. Just bye. Yep, that's awkward.
Yeah, I guess I'm
that's
the
about
kind of
as
guy
awkward.
over here. All right, so
later. Pretty awkward.
You're not supposed to be talking. This is for the YouTube end cards that'll come up there. It's got to be a little 20-second handle. But now we've got banter underneath it, so if you want to banter beyond banter, get your banter in now.
No thanks.
No more banter?